Welcome to the March 10th Camp Springs Civic Association meeting. Introducing Mr. John Bailey.
Good evening, community. Welcome to the March 2021 Camp Springs community. My name is John Bailey, and I am the Camp Springs Civic Association president. I hope that everyone is staying safe and following the protocols mandated by our county. I can attest personally that you want to avoid at all costs the chance of catching COVID-19. Myself, my wife, and shortly after, my youngest daughter contracted this virus. With me having asthma already, it wreaked havoc on my lungs. So breathing was an unimaginable chore to deal with for weeks. I encourage the community to get the vaccine shot when your opportunity comes up. This subject is on our agenda this evening because we cannot speak enough on it. We are in the process of revamping our website. Keep in mind that this is all of our website. And if you have any suggestions, please don't hesitate to reach out. The website is campspringsca.org. Again, ca.org. And we are on 3 social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So you can go to our website and click a link to get to all of them. Please follow and tag when you are on these platforms. And what I would like to do is take a moment of silence for all of the victims and those that have been suffering from COVID-19 and all of the things that are going on in our world, the challenging things. So I'd like to take a moment of silence now just to reflect. Thank you. So without further ado, let's start with tonight's program. We will begin with our Prince George's cops officers. I believe we have some that have joined us.
It's Corporal Miller. I'm here.
Corporal Miller?
Yes, how you doing? Can y'all hear me?
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Corporal Miller, who covers District 4. We certainly appreciate you, sir. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Corporal Miller. Well, I'm acting sergeant right now, community policing at District 4. Um, as you know, right now, y'all don't have a current cops officer, so all of us, my whole squad, we're filling in. So what I have is stats for which will be King 4, King 5, and King 6 beat. Several people have asked about it. In King 4 beat, well, this state dates back to the first week of January. We had a carjacking in the 4800 block of Allentown Road, which suspects were arrested. We've had one in the 5700 block of Allentown Road, which the suspect has arrested. And we had a carjacking 6300 block of Allentown Road, right near the 7-Eleven, where those suspects did get away with the person vehicle. We also had in King 4B, between commercial residential burglaries, we've had about 5 of them. That seems to have been picking up since the virus has hit. I'm also, I've had several complaints about 5700 Middleton Lane, about squatters. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that house. A resident of it told me that the house was vacant. I've checked with the county inspectors and I'm waiting on a response back to them. I don't know if anyone knows about that house. It's several vehicles in the driveway in the back, including the tow truck. And I've tried to locate the company that actually owns the house, but no one is answering the phone number that I found for them. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that resident. If you do know anything about that resident, if you can contact me, either by email or really by my cell phone, 240-695-7474. I really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
There are no questions at this time, but some may come a little bit later during the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be here.
All right.
Could you
Sergeant Miller, if
number?
you can repeat your information, your email and your phone number, and if not, if you can put that into the chat, so we can blast that out as well.
It's 240. My cell phone number is 240-695-7474. Once again, 240-695-7474. If you want to email me, it's rrmiller@co.pg.md.us.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
All right. Now, District 4 covers on the north side of Allentown Road, and they are out of the Oxon Hill department over in by Eastover. So we will go over to the District
Mr.
5.
Mr.
Yes.
Bailey. Hey, before you switch over, if we can keep it,
Yes.
if we keep it on the District 4 side, how are you?
Yes. Yeah. I'm sorry, Major Olaire. I didn't know you were on. I apologize. Please take the floor.
Yeah. Hey, I apologize, everyone. I got a keep my camera off. I'm driving right now, but I wanted to get on the call to say hello. I know
Yes.
I think this is the second call I've been on. I met a lot of you in person before COVID. Overall, I'll speak. I'm the commander of District 4. Corporal Miller, if you don't know him, you might want to introduce yourself to him. He is one of the best cops officers probably across the country. You need something done, Corporal Miller is your man. Overall, District 4, over the past 60 days, we're down in crime. I knock on wood, as far as Camp Springs area goes on the Eastover Station side, we have not had many crimes on our side. You know, we have been focusing on the homeless, on the people hanging out on Allentown Road, over by the Goodwill. We're focused on that building. Somehow it caught fire. Fortunately for us, you know, it's inhabitable, which helped us. But you know, all's good so far right now as far as Eastover side of Camp Springs. So my phone number is 240-695-7444. If anybody needs anything from me, feel free to reach out to me and I'll give you my email. I know Mr. Bailey and Miss Stretcher, I help out on a semi-regular basis. So anything you need from me, please feel free to contact me and I'll do my best to help you out as well.
All right. We certainly appreciate you joining us this evening, Major. Thank you
Yes,
so
sir. My
much.
pleasure.
I do have
My
a
pleasure.
question
Absolutely.
now for the cops. There's a couple questions about the dealings at 7-Eleven. Over the last couple of meetings, people have brought up just different types of activities such as litter and people loitering. Has there been any recent attempts to eliminate some of that at the 7-Eleven on Allentown Road?
Yes, what I'll say is that entire area has been one of our targets, especially dealing with, you know, narcotics abuse and homelessness. That's one of the problems that we see facing that area. We have a few other areas like that in the District 4 side. You know, what we have been doing is going around with social services. We're trying to, you know, give these people the opportunity to you know, go get off the street. Unfortunately, a lot of times they don't want our assistance. So we'll continue to target that area, continue to, you know, conduct enforcement. Now, I will say due to COVID, loitering enforcement isn't going too far right now these days because even if you take them to jail, the jail isn't holding anybody right now due to COVID. And then it's also not a violent offense. So we're working with our community prosecutor from the state's attorney's office to try to go through some different avenues for this. But, you know, just enforcing that area, working with the business owners to make sure they're keeping their properties clean and to call us when they see these loiters.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions, Harold?
None at this moment.
All right. Thank you, sir. And thank you again, Sergeant Miller and Major Olaire. I believe we have Corporal Gordon from the District 5 side.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. How are you? Thank you. Thank you for coming.
I just want to start off by saying I completely disagree with Major Olaire. I am the best cops officer for the whole nation. I'll give it to everybody. I'm Corporal Gordon from District 5 Community Policing. I am filling in for Corporal Paulnack. This is my second time. Well, this is actually my third time with you guys, and I'm happy to be here as well. As far as Frank's sector side, on the Clinton side, we are based out of Clinton, 6707 Groveton Drive. We've been kind of busy up in that area. We've had 2 robberies that came out it was actually, I'm sorry, it was a carjacking and a robbery. The carjacking occurred on 2/19/2021, and the robbery was give me 1 second. It was 120. I'm sorry. The robbery was the commercial robbery was at the same location at 6210 Allentown Road, and that was at the Roy Farms. That was on 1/19/21 at 0200 hours. And then the carjacking was on it says 210. I'm sorry, let me get that information. It was 2/19 at 1900 hours at that same location, 6210 Annapolis Road. We had 13 thefts in that corridor of Allentown Road. It was 13. We had a report of a shooting. I'm not familiar with the outcome yet. And that was on 2/16/21. And that was at the, give me 1 second. That was in the area of Allentown Road and Allentown Way, in that area. So we've been kind of busy. We are, as far as Frank sector, we are, give me 1 second. We are down in Thefamados. Thefamados is down, look it up again, 13.6%. So we're going on a good trend on that. Commercial burglaries are down 94.1%. We had a big string of commercial burglaries last month. They caught the suspect a couple of weeks ago. This guy was in the area of Allentown Way, Allentown Road. He was breaking a lot of hair salons and a lot of closed businesses overnight. So since we caught that suspect, the number has went down. Residential burglaries has went down because everyone's working at home right now. So it's negative 6%. Commercial robberies are down negative 50%. And our residential robberies are down negative 100%. So we're going at a good trend, but we still have issues in that quarter of Allentown Road. Of course, like the Major and Acting Sergeant Miller said, we're doing the same thing. People are hanging out the Royal Farms, a lot of homelessness, and a lot of drug activity in that community. So if you guys see anything suspicious, please contact the non-emergency number 301-352-1200 so they can dispatch your officer to that area.
All right. Thank you, Corporal Gordon. Mr. Harris, has anything come through as far as questions is concerned?
Yes, 2 questions. The first one is Brinkley Road is still seeing a lot of speeding, and there's also a lot of littering that has not been addressed. The person says that they have reached out to 311 on multiple occasions. So if they're not getting any results from 311, what are the next steps that they can take to escalate?
So the littering on Brinkley Road, I just had a call, I think it was like 4 days ago, and it was a jet ski, and someone dumped a mattress. A female called. That actually was Merlin Park's property. They responded and took care of it. They told me I didn't have to worry about it. It was all on their property. They looked on their little map system and realized that that side of the road belongs to them. So, and talking to them, they're trying to get a barrier put back up because right before the trail on Brinkley Road, where the old golf course place was at, they're backing down in there. You can't see them from the road, and they're dumping a lot of stuff down there. So the Maryland Park, their public works said that they was going to try to come back out and put a barrier up there to keep people from driving down there. The speeding, like the Major said, some things because of the virus is slowed down because you coming in contact with people. We're just now starting to come back up and do a lot of traffic stops. That's on my block for one of the places to hit. Because yeah, they're running through there at least about 70 or 80. You know, even if they see a cruiser. So yeah, that is one of the spots that I am the radar operator I'm trying to hit. And then I know I got a message saying that someone had been trying to contact me on my cell phone, but I have yet to reach. I'm sorry, I I haven't got any calls or messages. So if that person can call me back, or they can call me now, I try to help them out with whatever situation they got.
Thank you. Speeding has also been mentioned on Allentown Road, and that came from about 3 different community members. So the request is there any way to get some speed cameras up there? And is there anything that we need to do, the community can do to get those cameras up?
Well, speed cameras have to be in the except for 210 and other places on like near Maryland University, it has to be near the school zone. Now, I know they used to have some right there where Crossland was at, but for some reason they took them down. I would probably have to call and check. But it has to be like within a mile or half a mile of a school zone from the school for them to put it up. So I don't know how much. I mean, anywhere you go on Allentown Road, I mean, especially after from Temple Hills Road all the way down, it's like a raceway. I mean, and the biggest thing is on Allentown Road is somewhere for me to sit. And I almost Gordon, he's a traffic person too. He can tell you that that's probably one of the hardest places for us actually to sit at, because unless you sit in somebody's driveway, if somebody allow you to sit in their driveway. So, but we probably will be working on that too soon. So,
Great. Thank you.
Hey, Corporal Gordon from District 5 again. We actually got a complaint as well as far as the speed on Allentown. We have been out there doing some enforcement. You just probably haven't seen us every day, but we've been out there multiple times. I'm a radar operator, and so is you guys, community officer Corporal Polnack. But we don't mind. Maybe me and maybe myself and Corporal Miller can set up something as far as conducting some more traffic enforcement on that corridor. I don't mind. I'm sure he doesn't mind as well.
Thank you very much. The community will really appreciate it. That's it.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate Sergeant Miller, Corporal Gordon, and Major Olaire for coming and speaking on the police reports. All right, thank you, sir. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, and that would be membership. And we will have our membership chair, Ms. Monique Taylor. Ms. Monique.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Camp Springs. I pray that everyone is doing well and staying safe. I want to say happy International Women's Month and welcome to the community meeting. I just wanted to say, and just in case you didn't know, Camp Springs Civic Association is a volunteer membership-driven nonprofit organization that was established in 1986. The association mission is to maintain a membership of concerned, involved residents and business owners of Camp Springs who are interested in the safety and improvement of. We are to share ideas and pursue goals that will enhance the community and to stay informed of issues that affect Camp Springs in particular and Prince George's County as a whole. Our vision is striving to make our community a better place to live. For this fiscal year, we have 58 dues paying members. Currently, our household membership dues are $15 per fiscal year. That's from September to August of the fiscal year. Our business membership dues are $25 per fiscal year. Now, your membership dues offset our expenses. And some of our main expenses include liability insurance, the website, the Zoom platform, our P.O. box, when we have our shred days, printed materials, which includes our newsletter and other administrative expenses. Now we ask that you join your association today. We need you to go to the Camp Springs, that's Camp Springs with the ca.org, click membership. You can send in your payment via PayPal, or you can mail it in by our P.O. box, which is on the website. I want to thank you for your time, and I hope you choose to be part of the vision. Now, I would like to also welcome our new business member, and that is Elite Soccer World. They are located at 5818 Allentown Way. Check them out. They sell soccer and golf apparel. I have a couple of announcements. Camp Springs Civic Association, Ark of Knowledge, and the Denny House is sponsoring another community cleanup. This will take place on Sunday, March 21st at 1 p.m. We will meet near the Sunoco, that's 7096 Allentown Road. That's in the parking lot to, where the Giant is, in that parking lot, but by the Sunoco. That's at the Allentown and Temple Hill corner. Please wear comfortable clothing and shoes. Have your mask, your gloves on. We will provide the cleaning material, and we will assign you to the designated area to clean on that day. Camp Springs is our home. Let's take care of it by making it a better place to live. So please come out on March 21st. We're meeting. Please get there about 15 minutes early so you can get your assignment of the area that you will be cleaning. And we always have people partner so you won't be by yourself in the cleanup. Also want to announce that the Ark of Knowledge, along with other businesses, will be sponsoring a community fish fry. That will be held at the Central Baptist Church at 5600 Old Branch Avenue. The time is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and this is free of charge. Thank you, and I please hope that you will become a member of your civic association. Have a great evening, and please stay safe, wear your mask, and stay 6 feet apart.
We have one question for you. Do you send, or does Camp Springs Civic Association send a reminder for renewal dues? There's someone who said that they know they paid, but they believe it was over a year ago.
We have not, but that's a good suggestion. We could, we will look into implementing to send reminders out. Thanks for that question.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. If you would like to know, you can actually send over an email to CSCA media at gmail.com, and we can get your question answered, and we can find out the last time you paid and let you know if you're up to date or not. All right, so we'll move over. Would that be it, Monique?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move over to our next agenda item, which is the Camp Springs Civic Association election. It is an election year, and we have Ms. Beverly Taylor to speak on that. Ms. Beverly?
Hi, thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. I am chairperson of the nominating committee, along with Tammy Jones and Wilma Marie McCoy. That's the committee that have gone out and gotten the following people to run for office. According to our bylaws, this is every 2 years that we have an election. Running for president for 19, hello, 2021 through 2023 is president. Running for president is Monique Taylor. Running for vice president is Delonte Harrison. Running for recording secretary is Kalela Denny. And running for correspondence secretary, Carolyn Fleming. And for treasurer, Arlene Wilson. The committee will accept any nominees up until April 14th. You can email it. I will put that in chat, my email address, and email me any nominees you want for that office. But the nominations will close on April 14th. And we will vote or present our new officers to you during our May meeting, which is May the 14th, I think. May the 12th, I'm sorry, May the 12th, 2021. We will be presenting to you a new slate of executive officers for the Camp Springs Civic Association. So if you want to run, send me an email and to let me know. I think that's it for now. You will know our new slate of officers in May on our May 12th meeting. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you, Beverly. Thank you so much. All right. Next, we'll be getting into the featured speaker, and I want to introduce the person who's going to introduce the speaker, who is Tammy Jones. Actually, when I was vice president, she was president and a great leader, and she's done an excellent job in guiding me to where we are today. She's done a tremendous job in the community and is on several boards in the community, and is still a force to be reckoned with out here. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Miss Tammy Jones.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, John, for that introduction. So I am going to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Chiledum Ahagotu. Did I take it off mute? Okay. So Dr. Chile, we affectionately refer to Dr. Ahagotu as Dr. Chile. He is currently the Vice President of Medical Affairs and Chief Medical Officer at MedStar Southern Maryland Hospital Center, where he has served in that role for since 2016. And prior to joining MedStar, Dr. Chile was the Vice President for Medical Affairs and Chief Medical Officer at Kearney Hospital in Dorchester, Massachusetts. And during his professional career, Dr. Chile served as the R. Frank Jones Endowed Professor and Chair of Urology at Howard University, and also as the Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs in the College of Medicine. Dr. Chile received his medical degree at the University of Nigeria and completed his urological residency at the University of Iowa Hospital and Clinics. He also completed an American Cancer Society Urologic Oncology Fellowship. Dr. Chile has served in numerous leadership roles at Howard University. In 2005, he and 3 other physicians, International Medical Missions, or SIMS, a nonprofit committed to building healthcare capacity in Nigeria and other Western African countries. And to date, SIMS has conducted over 70 medical missions in West Africa. Dr. Chili is well known locally and nationally for his keen clinical acumen, extensive research accomplishments, strong community ties, and passion for healthcare innovation that addresses the unmet needs of diverse community or populations. And now I'm going to turn this over to one of the smartest people I know, Dr. Chili.
Thank you so much, Tammy. I can't tell you how much it has been a privilege to get to know you and work very closely with you. As President Bailey mentioned, Mrs. Jones is on several of our community boards, and most notably is a distinguished community board member of MedStar Southern Maryland Hospital Center Board of Directors, and also chairs probably to me the most important committee of the board, which is called the Quality and Safety and Professional Affairs Committee, which reviews quality and safety activities, as well as credentialing our physicians. And so that's a really important position, and we appreciate your service to the hospital and your partnership, and also giving me the opportunity to work with the Camp Springs Civic Association. This is my second time interacting with you, and thank you so much, President Bailey, for the invitation, and certainly appreciate the warm welcome from the members of the association. Today, I'd like to talk about COVID vaccination activity. I could certainly talk about COVID, but that would probably require maybe a couple of days. And so I think that one of the most pressing issues now is around the vaccination effort, both nationally as well as locally. And so I'll take us through some basic definitions, kind of where we are with vaccinations in the region, and then share some resources and some of the work that we've been doing at the hospital to contribute to getting our communities vaccinated safely and effectively. But certainly more than happy to answer any questions regarding any topics related to COVID or the hospital activities. There's a lot going on at the hospital. Love to come back and tell you about some of the wonderful work that's been going on there for the past several years. Obviously, there's always more work to be done, but the commitment and the commitment to the hospital and to the community is palpable, and that's what keeps me going for sure. So if we could go to the next slide. I'd like to talk a little bit about the COVID pandemic. We all are aware of the impact that the pandemic has had on this country and on the world. But when you go back and start tabulating the numbers, it's actually quite staggering to think that over 115 million people around the world have been affected by COVID, with almost 2.5 million deaths that are attributed to COVID. And most experts feel that these numbers are actually underestimated, because as you know, when you get into really impoverished communities, especially in some of the developing countries, there's really no way to know the actual number of folks who have suffered and even died from COVID. So these are probably conservative numbers, but when you look at it, it's quite staggering. And of course, we all know that the United States has taken a huge hit, almost at 30 million cases to date, which is actually quite impressive that it accounts for almost a quarter of the cases around the world, which again is a topic for another discussion. And of course, the tragic statistic of over 530 deaths attributed to COVID. I know that most, if not everyone, on this virtual meeting has either been directly affected or has had someone who they know that they're close to who has experienced COVID-19. And well wishes to President Bailey on your ongoing recovery. And that certainly, if there's anything we can do to help along that way, please reach out to us. Maryland has seen its share of cases, almost 400,000 cases to date, with over almost 8,000 associated deaths. And if you look at this little diagram to the right, it maps out the percentage or proportion of cases by county based on the size of the blocks. And as you can see in that upper left-hand corner, that green block is Prince George's County with, to date, the highest number of cases per county in the state of Maryland, over 74,000 cases, quite staggering. Interestingly, if you look at the next closest county, which is Montgomery County, which has around 63,000 cases, so we have 10,000 more cases. If you look at the death rates, Prince George's County actually has less COVID-related deaths than Montgomery County. Montgomery County has around 1,400 COVID-related deaths. So certainly staggering numbers, and but it is good to know that folks in the community are having access to care, and there are folks who do recover from COVID-19 infection. Next slide, please. The U.S. vaccination efforts, has been a little bit disappointing in that originally there was a lot of enthusiasm about the fact that vaccines were coming online. There was a lot of rhetoric about how quickly these vaccines would become available to the public. And I think that a lot of that was an overestimation, and really an overestimation of how quickly this can happen, but more importantly, of gross underestimation of the complexity of bringing a new vaccine or vaccinating an entire population with a new vaccine. I think that was a gross underestimation by the folks who communicated the initial efforts. That being said, over 90 million doses have been administered in the United States, which accounts for about 9% of the population being fully vaccinated. So only 10% of the population has been fully vaccinated. And when we talk about herd immunity, we'll understand why that percentage is important. The goal is to get to at least 75 to 85% of the population vaccinated. And there's some a particular reason why why that target is so important. We'll get to that in a minute. In the state of Maryland, only 1.6 million doses have been delivered to ARMS, which again accounts for about 9.6% of the population being fully vaccinated and about 17% of the population receiving a first dose. If we drill that down into Prince George's County, which is what we want to know about, that number is around 91,000. Actually, 91,580 have received a first dose, and around 41,508 have received both doses. And right now we're talking primarily about the two dual shot vaccines that came out by Moderna and Pfizer. And I'll talk a little bit about the new vaccine that just was released. So that actually tabulates to about a 4.5% vaccination rate for our community. And so, as you can see, we're way behind the 8 ball, and we'll talk about some of the activities to try to get our county vaccinated, brought up to speed with vaccination, timely vaccination. Next slide, please. So I thought it'd be important to just share a couple of definitions so that we're all kind of speaking the same language. You know, in the world of medicine and public health, we can get all caught up in nomenclature and semantics. So I wanted to try to break it down into some very basic concepts that you will hear about as you talk to folks and read and hear on the news about vaccination. So I thought it'd be important to kind of level set, providing some basic, a substance that is used to stimulate the production of antibodies. Antibodies are proteins that your own body produces in response to exposure to certain substances. These antibodies can provide immunity against disease. And the ability to resist an infection or a toxin by the action of specific antibodies or sensitized white blood cells. So essentially, immunity is the ability for your own body to resist, to suppress an infection or a foreign agent that is introduced to your body. And so vaccines are a way to enhance your immune system, to stimulate your immune system to target a particular disease. As I mentioned, antibodies are produced by your body. They are proteins that circulate in your blood, and they actually respond to substances that are also in your blood and in the tissues. Those substances are called antigens. And so these antibodies, when they identify a particular substance that is foreign to the body, they actually, almost like law enforcement, they move through the bloodstream to the area where those substances are and neutralize them. They bind to them, they break down the proteins that support the function of those substances so that they're no longer dangerous. And the most common of these foreign bodies are bacteria, viruses, and sometimes even foreign substances that can get into the body. So antibodies are an important part of your immune system. And there are other aspects of the immune system, but the antibodies are really important because they are very mobile. They travel through the blood to any part of the body, and they can attack a foreign invader wherever that invader sets up shop, whether it's in your toes or in your brain or in your heart or any tissue that blood receives. And of course, you know that all tissue is perfused with blood. So that's why antibodies are so important. Next slide. So as I mentioned, there's a concept called herd immunity. So we talked about immunity being the resistance of the body, the ability for your body to resist an infection. Herd immunity is when resistance to the spread of a contagious disease within a population results if a large enough number of people in that population are immune to the disease. And the safest way to get a lot of people immune to a disease in a population is through vaccination. If you try to get immunity by having the disease and surviving the disease, by the time you got enough people that could create herd immunity from getting the disease, you'd have a lot of deaths. So it's always better to vaccinate a community if you are concerned about a dangerous disease like COVID-19. And the reason why herd immunity is so important is that once you get a certain number of individuals that are immune to the disease, then the virus or the bacteria has difficulty transmitting from one person to another, and then it just kind of fizzles out and goes away. And so if you have a certain percentage, and usually that number is about 70 to 80% of the population has been vaccinated, then the rest of the people who aren't vaccinated are very unlikely to get the disease because there's just no way that the virus can spread. And so that's what is called herd immunity when you hear about that. And then the last definition you probably heard a lot about is emergency use authorization, or EUA. This is an authority granted by the Food and Drug Administration to facilitate the availability and use of medical interventions or countermeasures such as vaccines and other treatments during a public health emergency like a pandemic. And so the FDA has the ability to, if you will, fast track the safe release of certain treatments in an emergency. And when I say fast track, I don't mean bypassing the safe review process. It's just that some of the bureaucratic red tape that it takes to get a drug to market, which sometimes can take several years, are essentially eliminated and streamlined in the EUA process. And so the 3 vaccines that have come to the market that are now available to the public all were approved by the Food and Drug Administration through this EUA process. Next slide. And so this slide is just to show that although it didn't seem like it took a long time to get these vaccines to market, to get them into the population, there were a series of very complicated and deliberate steps that were required to allow them to get to that point. And it all started with being able to sequence the genetic pattern of the COVID virus. And of course, we all know about the Genome Project that was launched about 20 years ago, when we were able to, we meaning the world, but it really started in NIH, was able to code, to break the genetic code. And so by understanding the genetic sequence of all living creatures, it is easy to replicate that genetic sequence. And when you can do that, you can do a lot of innovative treatment approaches. And so the coding or breaking down or being able to know what the genetic sequence of the COVID virus was the first step. And that started actually before the first case came to Maryland. That process started in January of 2020, when the COVID pandemic was primarily still outside of the United States. And so I won't go over the different steps from the animal studies to the phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3 trials, but suffice to say that there was a very careful, well thought out, and scientifically based process to bring these 2 vaccines to market. And the other thing I'll mention about that before going to the next slide is both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are what we call mRNA or RNA vaccines. So they are not vaccines that are developed using the actual COVID-19 virus. They are genetically engineered material that looks like some of the genetic material of the COVID virus that is packaged and inserted into a vaccine. And when it comes into the body recognizes that RNA material and then produces antibodies that can kill the COVID virus. So it's a really innovative, creative, but safe way to create and administer a vaccine. When vaccines originally were developed in the late 1800s and early 1900s, they actually were injecting people with the actual bacteria and viruses, like the polio virus and some others. And as you know, some of those folks actually got polio. And some of those folks actually got sick from the actual disease. So the beautiful thing about these vaccines, these modern vaccine technologies, is that your risk of developing COVID from the vaccine is nil. There's no way that you can develop COVID from the vaccine. Now, we can talk about your risk of developing COVID by an exposure after being vaccinated, but to be very clear, the vaccines by themselves cannot give you COVID. Next slide. So this is just some information about the 2 most common vaccines that are available, Pfizer and Moderna. Again, they were well studied, almost 45,000 participants in the Pfizer study, over 30,000 participants in the Moderna study. They both went through the emergency use authorization process. An interesting thing about both of these is that they do require storage, cold storage. Pfizer even more so, stored at minus 70 degrees prior to administration. And because of that, it makes it a bit challenging logistically to get the drug from the manufacturer to the vaccination sites. It requires cold storage and freezers and all of that type of logistics, which can be challenging. They both require 2 doses separated between about 21 to 28 days. Pfizer is around 21 and Moderna is around 28. But the instructions clearly indicate that it doesn't have to be exactly 21 or exactly 28 days. It's really 21 or 28 days plus about 6. There's some flexibility in terms of when you can get that second dose. Next slide. There's a third product that came to market just a few weeks ago, Johnson & Johnson. You may hear it as the Janssen vaccine. Janssen is the lab that actually developed the vaccine, and Johnson & Johnson is the company that owned the lab, that produced it, and is marketing the vaccine. So this is a bit different than the other two vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson or J&J vaccine, first of all, is a single dose vaccine, meaning that you don't have to get 2 doses, you can get 1 dose. The effectiveness is around 85%, which again is a little lower than the other two, but that is about the risk. That's the percentage of the likelihood of actually getting COVID. But when you look at the likelihood of getting a severe enough episode of COVID that you need to be hospitalized, or a severe enough episode of COVID that you may actually be, it may be fatal, the protection is about 100% with all 3 vaccines. And that's an important message. And I have another slide to emphasize that although these numbers of 85% chance of getting COVID, but really it's about a close to 100% chance of not getting or not being having to be hospitalized if you do get COVID, and about 100% chance of not dying from COVID if you do get COVID. And so that's a really encouraging and very positive message about these vaccines. I can tell you that in medical school and in training, if you had a vaccine that was about 65% effective, that was considered to be a very, very effective vaccine. So these 3 products are really, really effective. And the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, just like the Moderna and Pfizer, was proven to be extremely safe. The most common side effect is sort of soreness in the arm, which is mild to moderate, usually relieved by some Tylenol or some acetaminophen. And so that is also very encouraging. There was actually in the Johnson & Johnson trial, there were no anaphylactic reactions, meaning that the body had a severe allergic reaction that can be life-threatening. They had no cases of that with Johnson & Johnson. With Moderna and Pfizer, they did have some anaphylactic reactions, but it was very, very rare. And so that's one of the reasons when you get your vaccine that you have to be observed for 15 minutes, just to make sure that you're not having a rare but sometimes serious reaction, allergic reaction to the vaccine. Next slide. And so this, again, I already talked about some of the common side effects from all the vaccines: pain and redness of the skin and swelling and soreness of the injection site. Sometimes you might feel a little bit of malaise or fatigue for a couple of days. That's what I experienced when I received the vaccine. I received the Pfizer vaccine. But I got up in the morning and I said, yeah, I don't really feel like going to work, but I realized I needed to go to work because there's a lot of work to be done. And so I was able to get up and go to work, and after a couple of days, felt fine. The other thing that you probably should know about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is it's a kind of a different technique that they use. So instead of using RNA, which is a form of genetic material, they actually synthesized a protein that the coronavirus produces. It's called a spike protein. Now, I didn't say that they took the protein from the virus material. They actually synthesized the protein in the lab and put it inside a common cold virus called an adenovirus that had been neutralized so it couldn't cause a flu or cause a cold. So it's a very complicated technology, but the advantage is that by putting it in that adenovirus molecule, they could allow this protein to be delivered into your body in a way that the antibodies are exposed and can develop a very powerful immune reaction. So it's a slightly different technology, but again, there's no risk of actually getting COVID from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Next slide, please. So again, all 3 vaccines are not designed to completely eliminate your risk of getting COVID, but they are designed to reduce substantially the likelihood that if you do get COVID, that it's going to be severe enough that you'll need to be hospitalized or actually have a death from COVID. And that's exactly what all 3 of them do, with almost 100% success rate. So I think that's an important message that unfortunately we're not hearing as much in the media about these vaccines. It's a really, really very big success story, the development of these vaccines. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to share with you the state's vaccination plan. Based on the recommendations by the CDC, the various states developed what's called a phased vaccination strategy, where you have phase 1A, B, C, phase 2, and phase 3 in terms of who is prioritized to get the vaccine first. Currently, the state of Maryland is in the 1C phase, which basically means that all individuals 65 or older, or you can see that long list of categories ranging from public safety workers to individuals who've had recent hospitalization, individuals who are particularly exposed to high-risk populations. So if you're working in an assisted living facility or group home, or those kinds of environments where COVID is at high risk of that population, those are all the individuals that are now eligible to receive the vaccine. Now, that being said, one of the challenges, and I'll talk about this in lessons learned, is that the approach to following these rules varies from county to county. And part of that has been because of the unreliable supply of vaccine. And so although this is the rule that the state put out in terms of where they are, in terms of who can get vaccinated, different counties have interpreted that, and some counties will include all of the people in that list, and some counties will include only a percentage of the people in that list. But I suspect that with what we're seeing with the increasing amount of product coming out and being available, that we will be moving into phase 2, which is really the general population, I would predict within the next 1 to 2 weeks. So for sure, if you are in the lower risk population and have not been vaccinated, I strongly believe that you will be able to get vaccinated within a very short period of time. Just hang on. Next slide. So I wanted to share my own research in terms of the mass vaccination sites that I'm aware of in the county presently. And so that's the list. I will talk about the First Baptist Church of Glenarden and the work that's being done with the state government and that prestigious organization in conjunction with the University of Maryland. But currently, there are several either county or state-run facilities that have capacity. So when you look at those numbers, for example, the Cheverly facility having 1,500 capacity, what that means is that if they have supply, they can vaccinate up to 1,500 people a week. But again, it's a big if, and the supply has been limited. And so you may have, for example, at MedStar Southern Maryland, we stood up a community vaccination site about a month ago that has the capacity on any given week to vaccinate 1,100 people, but we have not consistently received 1,100 vaccine doses per week. And so that's been a rate limiting step in terms of being able to get folks vaccinated. So these are some of the different facilities, and happy to answer any questions you may have about those facilities. And then in the bottom, I have I pulled the website, the Prince George's County website, where you can register to be vaccinated. And again, that process, up your name on essentially a waiting list. If you meet the criteria, they send you a link. If you don't meet the criteria, they tell you that you haven't met the criteria. And then when you do eventually meet the criteria, you're supposed to get a link by email. Now, I understand that that has been for many a very frustrating process. And hopefully we'll continue to work with the county and the state to streamline and improve that process. Next slide, please. So I'll talk a little bit about our hospital and its vaccination program. We started with vaccinating our associates in January. We had some success. We're almost at about 60% of the hospital associates have received a first vaccine, and a smaller percentage, probably around 50%, have received both vaccines. Interestingly, we have had to deal with, as you know, in the community, some vaccine hesitancy, concerns about how safe the vaccine is, whether or not it has any long-term effects. And so even among healthcare professionals and healthcare workers, those same concerns are there. And so what we have done is worked very closely with some key ambassadors and champions, folks, including myself, who have been vaccinated, to really share our experience and really have one-on-one conversations with folks who haven't been vaccinated. Because obviously, the sooner we get our workforce vaccinated, the sooner we can move towards reopening the hospital to visitation, as well as protecting our community. We started a community vaccination clinic last month in February. We've had some varied success. Over 2,400 community members have received at least a first dose. What I'll say about that effort is that it's been inconsistent based on available supply. So we receive our supply from the state directly to MedStar Health, and then it gets distributed to the hospitals, to the 11 hospitals. And the supply that has come to MedStar Health has been a modest supply, but we again are optimistic that that the supply will increase as we're seeing more supply being released by the federal government to the states. We have been working closely with some district leadership, most notably Councilman Sidney Harrison from District 9 has been a great partner in identifying the most vulnerable populations that meet the 1C criteria. And we've been working through to make sure we can try to get folks vaccinated. We also work closely with the County Department of Health and again, exploring different strategies, including mobile units as hopefully as the supply increases. Next slide. So, just tying things up, what have we learned in a pandemic? So I could probably write a whole memoir about that, but talking specifically to our vaccination efforts, I think what I mentioned initially about managing expectations and communicating effectively to the population as to what this is going to look like when these vaccines become available, I think that was something that we obviously could have done different as a country. And so that's something we're kind of dealing with, is the expectations were not really set appropriately. The complicated logistics of vaccinating a population cannot be underestimated, particularly vaccines that require double doses, vaccines that require to have such stringent storage requirements. It's just been a real logistical nightmare. But I think the hospitals, the state and the counties have done the best that they could under these circumstances. Again, coordinating this across different stakeholders requires a lot of coordination. And then finally, we sometimes forget that, we're a year into this and people are just tired. They're both physically, emotionally, mentally and spiritually tired. And certainly, I know that all of you can relate to that because we've all been going through this journey of the pandemic together. New slide. So on the end off on a good note, the governor recently announced standing up of a vaccine equity task force. Part of that task force is charged with breaking down barriers to expand access, particularly in underserved, vulnerable, and hard to reach areas of the state. Communities and local health departments interested in sponsoring a COVID-19 vaccine site would need to submit a proposal to the task force. The First Baptist Church of Glenarden was the first large-scale project of that nature, but it's something to think about in our area. Even Civic Association certainly is eligible to put in a proposal to the state to stand up a vaccination program. So, and the state would provide all of the logistics and the operational resources, including vaccine, to support that effort. So there's, it's something to explore, it's something to know about, and I think that it is long overdue. So really glad that the governor has stood up this task force. Next slide. So this is the announcement of the task force and of the partnership with the First Baptist Church of Glenarden. This particular vaccination site has the capability of vaccinating up to 10,000 people a week. So that's going to be a huge project. Again, the state will be coordinating this directly with the organization in conjunction with the University of Maryland Capital Regional. So we're really excited about that. It'll be obviously a great resource for the entire county. The focus will be on Prince George's County. And so that is something that we all should keep our eye on as it evolves. Next slide. So I'll just talk a little bit about monoclonal antibody therapy. This is very different than vaccination, but I thought it's important for you all to know about if you don't know about this. Monoclonal antibodies, so you now know what antibodies are. So monoclonal antibody therapy is synthetic, so produced in the lab antibodies that actually fight COVID-19. And so the most effective use of this is in folks who present with early signs of COVID, not sick enough that they need to be in the hospital, but they may have a higher risk of getting sick. So for example, if they're immunocompromised or if they have other medical conditions, when they get COVID, they're more likely that the COVID can kind of take hold in their body and make them really sick. And so if you can get this antibody therapy in the early stages of the condition, when you're not really sick, it can actually change the course of the disease. Next slide. And so this is basically how it works. You would, once you, and I'll give you some contact information if there's anybody who you think might benefit from this treatment. The first thing is after testing positive, you want to make sure that you haven't had symptoms for more than 10 days. So again, the treatment works in the early stages of COVID. You would need a referral from your doctor or from your healthcare provider. And then your doctor would then refer you to the actual clinic. We do offer a COVID a monoclonal antibody clinic on the campus at the hospital in one of our outpatient suites in the Lakeside building. We started that about a month ago. And so far we have provided treatment to over 150 individuals, and happy to report that none of those individuals ended up having to be admitted to the hospital. And we also offer it in our emergency department for folks who come into the ER as well. So it's a great treatment. It's not vaccination, very different from vaccination. It's actually treatment, but it's treatment that can be offered in the early stages of COVID that can maybe alter the course so you don't get it sick. Next slide. So I'll end with a slide. Unfortunately, when I put this slide deck together, it was before this event. The Prince George's Healthcare Coalition invited, and some of you may have attended this, had an open session on community vaccine updates. If you look at the website, and I think it's down below, I'll try and pull that up and send that on the chat. I'm sure that this session was recorded, and you may be able to get some information about what they discussed. It looks like it's called pgchealthzone.org. Down at the bottom, pgchealthzone.org. And if you go to that website, you will likely to be able to get more information about some of the vaccine efforts that are happening around the region. So I will end on that note and just say thank you so much for the time that you've given me to talk a little bit about our vaccine efforts in the community, in the county. I am always available to speak with you offline if there's anything you could that you think I can do to help you as we're getting through the COVID pandemic. There is light at the other end of the tunnel for sure. We're not completely out of the woods yet, but we're definitely on the right path. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chili, for that comprehensive report. Mr. Harris and Mallory, we'll go into the Q&A session now.
Okay. We have a couple questions. They're actually in our chat here as well. The first one is with the MAB therapy, do you still have to get the vaccination?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, because we are not 100% sure that if you get COVID, that you are completely immune from getting a second episode of COVID, once you get the antibody treatment and recover from that COVID episode, we are recommending through the CDC that giving us guidance on this, that you should get vaccinated. There have been instances of folks who've gotten COVID twice, unfortunately. And so although we do know that it does stimulate our immune system when you get COVID, it doesn't give you full immunity. And so it's believed that the vaccine will help to protect your body from another severe episode of COVID.
Thank you. There's also a question about Prince George's County and getting more vaccinations. Is there any word about that?
So we are working extremely closely with the county. We believe that the supply is opening up. In addition to those sites that I put on that list, there are several partnerships with CVS and Giant and some other facilities that are working with the county to administer vaccine. So as the county gets more and more vaccine, we believe that that more and more of those sites will be accessible. Please, if you want to get more information about the county's effort, please go to the Prince George's County website, Department of Health website. They have a much more comprehensive list than I provided with all the different facilities, as well as their mobile units that they stood up, I think, last week. And they're taking those mobile units to various sites around the county. And so we want to make sure that that you all are aware of where those sites are. Now, certainly with the opening of the First Baptist Church of Glenarden site that can vaccinate up to 10,000 individuals per week, we believe that that is going to be huge in terms of getting our county vaccinated. And again, the focus will be on Prince Georgians. So again, please look into when that vaccination site opens up, because they will be getting product directly from the state and in coordination with the University of Maryland Capital Regional. Oop, I think we lost your audio.
There we go.
I lost it. Okay.
We have one final question. There have been some concerns in the community regarding the Six Flags site and the lack of, they're saying, so few opportunities for people in Prince George's County at that site. Is that something you could speak to?
I can speak to it sort of peripherally. I haven't had any hands-on involvement. I've, followed the news and talked to county officials. You're absolutely right, and I'm so sorry that our community had to experience some of the challenges, waiting lines, and just the frustration I started experiencing. In addition, they set up the registration process. The links were sent out statewide. And I think part of that is because it was if I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't a state effort, it was coordinated between the county and the state. And as a result of that, folks in other counties were getting access to register, particularly Montgomery County. And we know that there were a lot of folks from outside of the county who got vaccinated at that particular facility. That is one of the reasons why County Executive Alsobrooks met with the governor and really, I think, articulated the seriousness of the situation in the county. And that was one of the reasons why the governor stood up the Vaccination Equity Task Force. And one of the first things that they've done is this huge partnership with Glenn Arden. And I think that there's more opportunities to do that. So as I mentioned, any organization in Prince George's County, I think any organization in the state can submit a proposal to partner with this task force to vaccinate. And they will consider the community, how vulnerable the community is. And so the entire county of Prince George's County, because of the high incidence of COVID, I think is eligible for that type of a program. It's really up to the community organization whether they want to get involved in that kind of work, but it definitely is an opportunity.
Great, thank you. And one quick one jumped at the last moment. Is the vaccination for children under 18 years old?
Not at this point. It is not being recommended for children under 16. I believe that 16 to 18, once the general population opens up, may be eligible. I can't remember what the cutoff is. I thought it was 16. It might be 18. But it is definitely, it was not tested in children. I think it is being tested now. So we may have more information about how whether it's safe and effective in the younger population.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it on the questions. Harris,
Let's see here.
Okay.
Give me one moment. One more just came in.
I was kind of scanning with you to see if I see anything.
It says, which positive patients are being looked at for the new variants? This person says their elderly mother who lives in an assisted living has had COVID twice. She was just at Southern Maryland Hospital. Wouldn't she be someone whose second test might have been flagged to be evaluated for one of the new variants?
So that's a really good question. It's a really good question. The CDC currently, and again, the variant testing is not even done at the local entities. When COVID first broke in March, the only facilities, the only agency that could do COVID testing, believe it or not, back in March of 2020 was the CDC. So it's similar with the variants now. Now, you can get, COVID tests, at CVS. but the variant COVID test is currently only available at the CDC. And I don't know the exact criteria that would trigger that, but it definitely is not a second episode of COVID. I think it is related to certain clinical patterns of how it presents. But again, if someone has a history of getting COVID twice, that in itself would not trigger a testing for the variant. On that, maybe that at some point we'll have different kinds of tests for different forms of COVID, like we have with the flu, but we're just not there yet in terms of what the guidance we're getting from the CDC.
Great answer. Thank you.
Okay. That's it on questions? Okay. Well, I certainly appreciate that. Dr. Chili, that was an amazing job, full of information, and we knew that you would do an excellent job again, as you've done previously in our meeting. We certainly appreciate you for taking the time out and taking the time out to put that presentation together and giving our community all of the information that we need. We cannot talk about this enough. It's a very important subject, and it's ongoing. So we will continue to communicate with you, and hopefully we'll have you on sometime soon in the next fiscal year. We certainly appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and happy to come on anytime.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right. So we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is our business spotlight. We're winding down to the end. We'd like to spotlight first. This is our for-profit business, which is Allentown Discount Pharmacy. And I'm sure that Dr. Chili would be interested in having hopefully we'll have a interesting conversation with Dr. Howard, who is representing Allentown Discount Pharmacy, the owner. And we have built a great relationship since he's been there. And I've actually moved all of my prescriptions over to him. And it's like the down home pharmacy. He takes, the time to speak with you and break down what's going on, what you're taking. You don't get that a lot with these big businesses sometimes, and then sometimes you may spend a little more at those big businesses. So we'd like to support our local businesses in our community and uplift them. So we definitely wanted to have Dr. Howard come out and tell the community what he's offering to our community and in what way. And take it away, Dr. Howard.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bailey, and thank you so much, Doc. That was a very good presentation. My name is Dr. Howard Majulagbe. I'm a pharmacist and owner of Allentown Pharmacy in Camp Springs, Maryland. Mr. Bailey, Camp Springs. So we are a Black-owned business. We opened our pharmacy in the community of Camp Springs almost 2 years ago. And the reason why we opened in Camp Springs is because that was a location that we felt would be ideal for the kind of services that we're trying to provide. I used to actually work for Walgreens Pharmacy in Clinton, Maryland. And I can understand some of the challenges that we have. There used to be a pharmacy actually on that spot called Star Pharmacy that had to shut down due to lack of community support. And they also, one of the things they also said was they were having some challenges with robberies and things like that. But since we have been there, we have been welcome in the community, and we are very happy to be part of that area. My father was a teacher at Isaac Gordon, not too far from Allentown. He's been a teacher for more than 40 years. And so Allentown is a very, very good place for us. Another piece of history, in the 70s, when my parents actually came to America for school, they used to live about 10 minutes from Camp Springs, near used to be Hadley Memorial Hospital, where both of them worked. So that is the history that we have. And The reason why we opened our pharmacy is because being that I've been in pharmacy for 16 years, I was not very happy with the kind of services that patients are receiving. At Walgreens, I was the #1 pharmacist in the whole country for Walgreens. And as time and time went on with pressures on reimbursement, the quality of services that patients actually receive in the pharmacy was getting less and less. We didn't have a lot of patient interactions, and there was a lot of problems that we had with that. So we began to think about what can we do to bring a pharmacy that will actually introduce the patients back to their healthcare provider, so we can have the patient pharmacist relationship. So that's the vision behind Allentown. And then another goal that we wanted to focus on, my father is now 81 years old. I realized that a lot of our seniors have been left behind because they have to choose between paying for their medications or paying for their food or their mortgage or rent. And I just don't think that is right. I think that if we can provide a service that will allow patients to get their medications at an affordable cost, it will be a win-win for us in terms of people knowing the services we provide, and also a great opportunity for patients to be able to get all of their medications instead of some of their medications. For example, we have a life-saving drug that a patient came to our pharmacy for. After going to CVS, they wanted him to pay $600 for the medication. He went to Giant, which was next door to CVS. They said they have a program where they can save him, and it would be $500 something. And of course, being a senior, he can't afford to pay that much. So he came across to the pharmacy, and you might guess, we charge him $45 for the same medication. The question is, how is this possible? It is possible because we are not a corporation, even though we buy medication from the same place. We don't have a lot of overhead. So we can afford to help our community get access to life-saving drugs at an affordable cost. Some other things that we do is for patients that are not on generic medications, brand name medications, which means it doesn't have an alternative manufacturer. So generics are just the same drug manufactured by other people. So when you have many people making the same drug, the prices are cheaper, we can get better deals. But when it's only one manufacturer, the prices are stagnant. It's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So we have opportunity to get manufacturer coupons for the patient. And in a corporate environment, they don't have internet, so they can't help you to get those coupons. So you might be paying more than you're supposed to pay for your medications over there. Some of the things that we do differently from CVS and the rest of them is that, number one, we provide a service called Doctor First for prescriptions. So when you come into our pharmacy, we actually give you a walkthrough of your medications, why you're taking them, the things that you need to know, the foods or drinks or combination of multivitamins or supplements you need to avoid. And then Doctor First is a program that when we get your cell phone registered in our system, once you pick your medication and you go home, few hours later, you're gonna get a text with a link on it. The link will ask you for your date of birth and your name. Once you put that in, it connects you to my computer system, and it gives you a video presentation that you can watch as many times as you please about what your medication is used for, the side effects and things like that. Nobody has that. We felt like if we're gonna bring a service to our community, it has to be quality services, not just something that everybody else has been doing. Because if you want to win in the healthcare setting and get support for people, they need to see the value and the education and understanding why they are on their medication. Because some people, they don't take their medications because they don't even know why they need to be on it. Nobody talked to them. They didn't really understand what to watch out for. So we do that, and a lot of our patients have found that very, very attractive. Another thing that we do is, especially with COVID, we were contacted by the CDC to manufacture hand sanitizers. So we actually give a whole lot of hand sanitizers to the community, and that's how I met Mr. Bailey. We made them with isopropyl alcohol, and it was 80% volume by volume. We gave a lot of that away for free to our senior 65 years and older because we didn't want to charge them. It was something we wanted to do for the community. We ended up doing about 500 sanitizers for the community. We also do free consultations. So basically, if seniors, they don't have to use our pharmacy, anybody can email us at allentownpharmacy@gmail.com. We get a lot of questions from patients who want to know, I went to CVS, but the pharmacist didn't have time to talk to me. Can you help me with this? So we take care of that for patients as well. So we spend about 2-3 hours every other day answering questions from those who are not even supporting us in the pharmacy, but we would like to have them support us because that's going to help keep us around for the long run. The thing that we do for our seniors, other than consultations, and we do consultations for everybody, is delivery. In the COVID environment, pre-COVID, we were doing deliveries for free. And during COVID, we expanded our range to 31 miles. We wanted to make sure that people don't have to come out and expose themselves when they don't have to. Some people have never even been in a pharmacy before. We just have their information, their payment structure, and we're done. We go there, we stay at the door and give them consultation at their door. Or if they're comfortable with us coming in, we come in, we sit down with them, and we spend time. I actually was with a family yesterday doing consultations for them. We spent about 40 minutes going over how to use a G-tube and how to do other things with the G-tube. Some of the things that we focus on, our pharmacy is basically a service-oriented pharmacy. We provide vaccinations, immunizations, compounding services. And what people love about our compounding services is being that we're a small business, where you do compounds for medications, there's something called a compounding fee. It's about $65 on top of the other things. That's to compensate for the time it takes you to make your compound and all the other work that has to go with that. With our pharmacy, we took that away. So it allows us to be way cheaper than even going to a place like Walmart. And a company called Pointy, they look at our over-the-counter items that we sell, and they actually did an analysis and compared us to all the stores within about 2-mile radius. And then they expanded it to about 50-mile radius. And they found out that we're 85% cheaper than any pharmacy in our area. And they actually recommended that we raise our prices, but we have refused to do so. The reason why we do that is because we are proudly Christian, and our principle is to do services in a way that is pleasing to the Almighty God. We're here to provide service to the community. You can't pay for those kind of services. We want to make sure when you leave out, sorry, my baby is here. Sherry, can you take him? Yeah, so that's my newborn baby. I apologize. So he's a 4-month-old, King David is what we call him. So we wanted to make sure that when people come in, they can get, paying $100 more for something doesn't mean you're getting quality. Being able to get quality products at a cheap price is one of the things that we think is going to be essential and is a game changer. Just think about it, how we get treated when you go into a CVS. You have to stay in line for like an hour. And when you get there, that's when the pharmacist is telling you, oh, sorry, I have to order the medication. It's going to come in a couple of days. That is unacceptable. You know, when you come into a pharmacy, in less than 10 minutes, you're in and out of the pharmacy. If you're longer than that, it's because we're giving you consultations. And if there's anything going on with your medication, we'll contact your doctor and give you feedback on a regular basis to let you know what's going on with your medication. You don't have to call us. We will call you and update you on what's going on. If there's a problem, it's going to take a few days. We're going to give you updates on a daily basis. People respect that because it shows them that you respect their time, you respect their space. Some of the things that I also wanted to highlight, because I know I'm running out of time, is that I bring a lot of infectious disease experience. I used to be the head pharmacist. After I left Walgreens, I was the head pharmacist for Whitman Walker, the HIV clinic, and I got my HIV credentials. And I was working for a company called Maxo Pharmaceuticals. So I ended up heading Whitman Walker and also helping them establish about 3 pharmacies in the District of Columbia. 2 of them with Unity Healthcare Facility. I managed the one in Upper Cardozo, and that's where I was before we launched the pharmacy. So we wanted to bring those kind of services to our own community where majority minority population, where they can get high quality pharmacists who have infectious disease background in a community pharmacy that they can walk to. Just so you can know what my credentials are, I am one of 13 pharmacists in the state of Maryland with my credentials. That means the chances of you meeting a pharmacist with my credentials is close to zero. And then in the District of Columbia, I'm one of about 17 at the last time that I checked. And all of my partners that work with us, the clinical pharmacists, they are part of the other, there are 3 of us that have the AHIV credentials. So we bring a lot of knowledge, and between all of our staff, we have over 45 years of combined pharmacy experience. So anything you can talk about, we do, or we can at least guide you. And I'll want you to maybe take a look at some of our reviews and see what people are saying. Don't take my word for it. Go on Allentown Discount Pharmacy on Google, or Google Allentown Pharmacy. Just look at what people are saying. We want to make sure that the community understands we're there for them. We will give you the best prices you can ever find, and we will treat you with respect. And we'd like to use this opportunity to ask for your support. We are currently also on Facebook and on Instagram and on Nextdoor. Very soon you're gonna have, we're working on a website, so you see a lot of that. And I wanna thank this association for featuring us and allowing us to just share with you some of the things that we do. And before I wrap up, we are partnering with District 8, with Councilwoman contacted our pharmacy. We're partnering with them to, we're offering a patient assistant program that's coming out of Fort Washington Medical Center and Beta Bating. So that's a network that will allow the underserved to be able to access medications. You can always contact me later so we can give you more details. Those are things that are available to people in our community. And as of today, we're working with a councilwoman to see if we can provide 1,000 COVID vaccinations to these districts as well. So those are things I've been working hard all the way to 1, 2 a.m. in the morning, trying to see how we can make that happen. So that one is not official yet because we have a lot of kinks to work on, because we're trying to see what we can do to make things smoother. And the councilwoman, Monica Anderson Walker, and Mr. Bailey are doing a fine job for the community, and we thank you for your patience. I'll take any questions if you have.
Great. Thank you. I'll say these together. First is, can you give us any landmarks so people will know where on Allentown Road you're located? And also, can you give us your store hours and the address again?
Okay, so our store hours are Monday to Fridays from 8:30 to 6:30. Because of COVID, there's a little adjustment. So we'll mostly be our doors open at 9, but we're there by 8:45. Now we close at 6. So right now we'll just say the range is 9 to 6 Monday to Fridays, and on Saturdays is 10 to 1, and after COVID is going to go back to 10 to 3. Our address is 7069 Allentown Road, Camp Springs, Maryland. The zip code is 20748. We're right in the same shopping center as AutoZone, Bank of America, the Dollar Store, and Subway, across from CVS and Giant at the intersection of Allentown Road and Temple Hills.
Thorough. Thank you. Thank you very much. As of this moment, I don't see any other questions.
I see one. Somebody said, will you get the COVID vaccination? Yes, the COVID vaccination for right now is being controlled by the state. And with the program that we're working on with the councilwoman, it's once everything is finalized, we're looking at trying to get 1,000 shots out. It will be at an off-site location in the church because they want to be able to control the crowd. If we can pull that off, we'll have 1,000 shots in a couple weeks. Well, the details are still spending. The other things are, we have to wait until the government allocates to the pharmacy itself the COVID vaccinations. Right now, they're dealing with the big boys, CVS and Walgreens. So we need your help. The bigger we can get, we can also muscle around with the big boys and see if we can get something done for our people.
Great, thank you.
All right. Sounds good. I certainly appreciate that. That was a lot of good information. And make sure we, as a community, come out and support Allentown Pharmacy and Dr. Howard. Certainly thank you, sir, for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, we're going to go to our nonprofit, in which we're going to, we are featuring the Denny House. And one of our fellow board members, Ms. Kalila Denny, who has been a tremendous force in our community for some years now. Once I saw her, I knew we had to recruit her into the Civic Association board because phenomenal things in the community. We partner on so many things, giving out food, cleaning up, just a number of things in the community. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Miss Kalila Denny.
Awesome. Thank you, John. As John said, Kalila Denny from the Denny House Incorporated. We have been in the community. We started our organizations in 2013, serving youth who were dealing with homelessness and other issues. But our mission has changed quite some since then. We still serve youth in the community, transitional age youth and their families, helping them discover who they are, and then use those gifts and talents in the community to serve others. We do this through 4 pillars of our organization, 4 programs. And those programs currently are housed in the Empowerment Institute. Our Empowerment Institute provides access to relevant trainings and information and awareness events, such as dating abuse for teens and domestic violence and things like that we present to that's tailored to an audience of maybe 16 to 24. Though with that, our other programs, the Denny House has TDH Works, which is our workforce development program. That program is currently designed. We have a curriculum for middle school and high school students who need soft skills support, as well as work readiness training. We also have a apprenticeship type offering for landscape work. We service 88 ponds in the county in southern Prince George's County. These are stormwater management ponds, and we use that as our training grounds for our landscape program. We hire returning citizens for this work, as well as youth who are trying to figure out what they want to do in life and are interested in the environment and interested in landscaping. We have our Project Clean Water event, a program where we have cleanup events as well as tree plantings and things of that nature in the community. We've partnered, as John said, with the Civic Association on a number of those events. In 2018, I believe we planted over 100 trees in residential properties in Camp Springs. So if you remember that, us coming out and knocking on your doors and talking to you and planting trees on your property, that was the Denny House and our teams that we work with. So with that, and our Project Clean Water is housed under our Project Clean Water program. And that stormwater management is also housed under that as well. So, and the other program is something that's new to the Denny House that we do currently, and that is a transitional housing program for the transitional age youth who fit in the categories of youth who are aging out of foster care, youth who are justice involved, youth who identify as LGBTQ and veterans, and youth who are homeless. So that program will provide behavioral health services, substance abuse services, peer recovery support services, and other wraparound services for the youth who come through that program, as well as housing. So it's not just the housing, but if you have a need for those other things that I mentioned, you'll be able to get services through our community-based partnership with the Department of Health and other community organizations who are coming alongside us. So I was trying to go through, I'll leave it there since I do have a lot more I could share, but we are at time now, and I'll take any questions that anyone has. But I will say we do have 2 events coming up. One is not in Camp Springs, but because of the partnership, we do community cleanups all over Prince George's County. And the students who are, here in Camp Springs could always follow us wherever we go to get the community service hours they may need to graduate. So we do have a community cleanup coming up in Cheverly on the 20th of March, and we offer community service hours for that. We also have a focus group that we are working to get teens who are between the age of 12 and 17. If you're a teen between the age of 12 and 17 and your parents to participate in a focus group, and the topic is about behavioral health and mental health for teens. So if you're interested in that program, you could contact me either via email at kdenny@thedennyhouse.org, or you can call me at the office at 301-899-0505. Every participant who is involved in the focus group will receive a $15 Amazon gift card. That's the teens as well as the parents, because we want to make sure that the parents are engaged as well as the teens. So anyone who participates in that focus group will receive a $15 Amazon gift card for their time. And there are some other giveaways, if I'm not understanding. We're partnering with the Volunteers of America for that program. So with that being said, if there's any questions, I can answer any questions.
All right. I will ask when we're done with the questions, if you would please give all the contact information again.
Okay.
Let's see. So the first one is it says what is the address where people can mail donations, and what are the other ways that people can donate to your organization?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So I'll answer the first one. You can mail donations at 4505 Lujean Lane, Lujean Lane, and that's in Fort Washington, Maryland, 20744. And you can also donate via your time, your talents, and your treasure. Any one of those things, there's an option on our website for you to send us information. If you want to volunteer with us, we consider that very valuable. There's some skill set that you have that you want to lend to the program to support the youth and to support our events. We would love to have you, and that website address is www.thedennyhouse.org, and Denny again is spelled DENNEY. And you can go to our donate tab and donate specifically to any individual program that we offer, or choose to volunteer with us.
Great. I believe that is it. What are your hours of operation?
Oh, okay. So our business hours are from 9 to 4. You can reach us like I said, on the landline at 301-899-0505. And my email address is kdenny, DENNEY, @thedennyhouse.org. And one thing I failed to mention is that we also maintain 4 community gardens around Prince George's County, 2 in Camp Springs, one in Clinton at Stephen Decatur Middle School, and one in Capitol Heights at this senior residence on Suffolk Avenue.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Denny. We certainly appreciate that information and continue to do the phenomenal work that you do in our community. Thank you. All right. So we are at the end. So I just wanted to thank some folks that you may not see, but you may hear. Well, I want to start off with thanking Major Olaire and Sergeant Miller from District 4 and Corporal Gordon from District 5. I know Dr. Chili from MedStar, Southern Maryland Hospital, Dr. Howard, and of course, Ms. Kalila Denny here.
Yeah.
All right. And we have behind the scenes, we have Mr. Harris Tay and Mallory Tay answering the questions and feeding off of Facebook, in which we are live. Ms. Monique Taylor, who is assisting in the chat as well. Ms. Beverly Taylor, who gave a great presentation on the nominations. Ms. Tammy Jones, who did a great introduction. Want to actually mention Ms. Carolyn Fleming, who is on our executive board, as well as Arlene Wilson. We have many more volunteers and chairs, so you can check the website out in a moment to see all of those people. And we do have on the call, we do have our Vice President, Ms. Candace Stretcher, as well. So reach out to us if you have any questions, campspringsca.org. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please do that. And if you can't get in contact with any of your elected officials or directors of any of the organizations, agencies, please contact us and we will act on that and make sure we follow through until the end. Again, I appreciate all of your time, everyone, for coming out. Have a great night, and we will see you at the next meeting on May 12th at the same location. I appreciate you. Have a great and safe next couple of months, and we'll see you soon. God bless.
One thing we forgot to give, we forgot to give Beverly's email address.
Okay, we're still recording. Can we put it in the chat on Facebook?
Yes, and we are still recording. So if you want to say it real quickly for the people on YouTube. We're done with Facebook though.
Okay, I'll go in and do it.
Okay. That's awesome.
It's still on record.